Welcome to this explainer. Grab a warm cup of tea and get comfortable, because today we're stepping right into a deeply comforting, atmospheric narrative derived from a truly beautiful piece of source material. We're going to explore a story set in a quiet, snow-covered Victorian village. We're trading fast-paced action for something much more profound, the power of quiet observation and a really gentle, cozy mystery.
Our story starts by setting this wonderfully vivid scene. Just picture this in your mind. It's a dark, snowy December Tuesday in rural Devon. You're arriving alongside our protagonist, a teacher named Dorothea Vane, and she's being guided only by the amber glow of cottage windows reflecting on the thick, patient snow. The author uses this incredible imagery to immediately pull us out of our busy modern lives and drop us right into a setting that is quiet, isolated, and just incredibly peaceful.
Now, to really appreciate this piece, we have to look at what Dorothea left behind. She had just spent 20 years in a totally chaotic London board school in Islington. We're talking 40 kids crammed into a single room, a leaky roof, and a headmaster who cared about absolutely nothing but strict discipline. But when she resigns and takes this new post in Aldermoor, literally everything changes. Here she has just 15 students, a warm stove, thick stone walls, and the peaceful autonomy to actually teach the way she wants. It's a complete and total reset of her life.
So, it's her very first morning in this new reality, and it's just this incredibly rich sensory experience. She gets there an hour before the students, runs her hands over these old desks carved with initials, and breathes in that distinct, highly specific smell of learning. You know, chalk, old wood, and slightly damp winter stone. And it's right in this beautifully grounded moment that she notices something slightly out of place. There's a cream-painted door at the very back of the room, blending right into the wall, and it's securely locked.
This is where we meet a fantastic character who really frames this whole mystery for us, Nell Pierce. Nell is a remarkably observant 8-year-old who wears this little brown beret. She doesn't act like your typical loud, chaotic kid. She is intensely attentive. When Dorothea asks her about the locked door, Nell delivers this absolutely brilliant observation. She says, "It feels like something that has been waiting, not like something forgotten." I mean, wow. It introduces this gentle, cozy mystery, framing the door not as some sinister secret, but as a patient puzzle waiting to be solved.
So naturally, Dorothea does a little digging. She has a chat with an 83-year-old local woman, Mrs. Barrow, and pieces together the history of this door. Turns out it hasn't just been stuck all these years. It was intentionally locked by a beloved past teacher named E. Fenwick over 60 years ago. When Fenwick left the school in 1886, the key mysteriously vanished. Mrs. Barrow mentions that her mother remembered Fenwick calling the space behind the door the keeping room. But, keeping what?
To figure that out, Dorothea and her incredibly observant student Nell team up. And the way this mystery unfolds is so great. There's no high-stakes suspense, just quiet, cozy curiosity as the two of them pore over decades-old records. The local vicar actually brings them this dusty wooden box of old-school logbooks. Sitting by the warm stove while the snow is gently falling outside, they methodically read through the village's history. Eventually, they discover the precise small handwriting of E. Fenwick, starting right in the year 1881. What they find in those logbook entries reveals a profound thematic lesson about paying deep, quiet attention. Instead of just noting boring attendance records, Fenwick writes things like how Thomas Reeve read aloud without hesitation for the first time, noting that he did not know anyone noticed. This tells Dorothea, and all of us, exactly what kind of person Fenwick was. She was someone who noticed the small, quiet triumphs that everyone else completely overlooked.
Then, they hit upon a final entry from March 1886. It reveals that E. Fenwick deliberately prepared this mysterious space, the keeping room, and hid the key specifically for someone who would understand its true purpose. She wrote that she hoped what she left would be found by someone who truly got what it was for. It's this beautiful, deliberate passing of the torch across time.
Okay, but where's the key, right? Well, finding it requires Dorothea to practice the exact same kind of methodical patience and attention that the room itself represents. She doesn't frantically tear the classroom apart. She searches the obvious spots first, sure, but then she really stops to think about E. Fenwick. Where would a patient, observant person who deeply understood children actually hide a key? She crouches down and examines the underside of the absolute oldest, most carved-up, worn desk in the very back of the room.
And there it is. The crucial point here is that the key was never actually lost. It was just waiting. Holding this old, tarnished brass key in the warm lamplight is a quiet triumph of noticing the overlooked.
Fastened to the underside of the desk with a loop of dried-out leather, it was left in a place that specifically required patience and a genuine willingness to look closely at things in order to be found.
Now, I absolutely love this next detail. Dorothea actually waits until the next morning for Nell to arrive before opening the door because, some moments just shouldn't be experienced alone. When Dorothea and Nell finally open that heavy door, they step into a small, low-ceilinged room bathed in this diffused greenish light from a high window. You can almost feel the chill and smell the scent of old paper, cold stone, and faint lavender that has literally been locked away for 6 decades.
And what's inside? 43 ordinary yet absolutely precious objects. They're all carefully placed on these child-height shelves, and each one is paired with a precise little note from E. Fenwick. Now, these aren't items of monetary value. We're talking about a wooden bird, a pressed flower, a child's drawing, some brave needlework, an interesting gray stone. But they are items of immense human value. They represent the quiet moments, the earnest efforts, and the individual personalities of children from 60 years ago. Tucked away on the highest shelf, they find a faded blue notebook, and this is the real game changer. It explains the true magic of the room. It's a sanctuary for preserving the small, authentic moments that matter. E.F. Fenwick writes in the journal that what children make and notice is real, and real things deserve to be kept somewhere. She deliberately built this room for attention. Honestly, it is a breathtakingly beautiful philosophy, not just of education, but of life itself. So, as the school day wraps up, Nell asks this totally pivotal question, challenging Dorothea to decide the future of this beautiful time capsule. They've solved the mystery, they found the room, but now, what happens next? Does it just become a dusty museum? Does it get cleared out? What do you actually do with a keeping room?
Dorothea's answer is just perfect. It brings Nell to the very brink of a smile, affirming that this wonderful tradition of deep, careful attention is going to continue in Aldermoor. Keep it, Dorothea says, because what else would you do with a keeping room? This isn't just about preserving the 43 items from 1886, it's about reigniting the entire purpose of the room for the children sitting in the classroom today.
And literally, almost immediately, that's exactly what happens. The collection jumps right from 43 to 45 objects, as Dorothea begins to practice the same quiet observation with her own 15 students. She realizes her real job isn't just delivering a curriculum, but really noticing who these children are and preserving what they find valuable in the world.
You're probably wondering, what are the new items? Well, a boy named George brings in this perfectly striped oval stone he found in the melting snow just because he thought it might be interesting enough. And Nell, our quiet observer, contributes a beautiful pencil drawing of the school's exterior. She tells Dorothea she drew it so there is a permanent record of the time before the door was opened. Dorothea carefully places these on the shelves, writing her own precise little notes for each one.
Later, sitting in that quiet winter village, just looking at those amber school windows, it hits Dorothea. She has found exactly what she didn't know she was looking for. She had originally fled London just looking for a quiet escape, but here in Aldermoor, through the discovery of the keeping room, she found her profound purpose. She decides with absolute certainty that she is not leaving.
So Dorothea goes to the village shop, buys a plain notebook, and writes down E. Fenwick's gentle instruction, passing the philosophy forward into a brand new decade. She copies Fenwick's final words verbatim: "Keep what deserves to be kept. Notice what is worth noticing. The rest will follow." It's essentially a mantra for living a slow, attentive, and deeply meaningful life.
As we say goodbye to the cozy, snow-dusted village of Aldermoor, this whole explainer really leaves us with a peaceful invitation to look a little closer at the quiet, ordinary magic in our own lives. It makes you wonder about the beautiful little things we rush past every single day. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder tonight. What will you notice tomorrow that is worth keeping? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible narrative with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.